3 minutes to catch up on the biggest U.S. stock market events this week. Monday is relatively light on data, so the market will mainly be positioning ahead of the more important events later in the week. One focus is Tuesday's U.S. trade data. Another is the likely release of the Fed's meeting minutes on Wednesday, so Monday is more of a pricing-in day for the market. On Tuesday, there are two trade-related releases to watch. First, the U.S. international trade data for May. This shows the overall picture for U.S. imports and exports of goods and services. If the trade deficit widens, it could weigh on GDP. If it narrows, external trade pressure may ease. Second, the detailed U.S. services trade data. This tracks imports and exports in areas such as finance, technology, tourism, and intellectual property. If services exports are strong, it suggests U.S. service sector competitiveness remains solid. If services imports are strong, it suggests U.S. businesses and consumers still have healthy demand for overseas services. On Wednesday, there are two things to watch. First, the FOMC meeting minutes. The market will be looking at how hawkish the Fed really is on inflation, growth, and the rate path. If the tone is hawkish, tech and growth stocks may be more sensitive. If the tone is dovish, rate cut expectations could recover. Second, wholesale sales and inventories for May. This helps show whether businesses are facing rising inventory pressure. If inventories are building too quickly while sales lag behind, companies may face more pressure to destock later on. On Thursday, there are two things to watch. First, initial jobless claims. The market uses this report to judge whether the labor market is starting to soften. If claims rise, the labor market may be cooling. If claims stay low, labor conditions are still relatively tight. Second, business formation data for June. This tracks new business applications and startup activity. If the data is strong, it suggests business activity is still healthy. If it is weak, business confidence may be softening. On Friday, there is one BEA release to watch. It covers the activities of foreign multinational affiliates in the United States. This report usually has less direct market impact than inflation, jobs, or the Fed. But it still helps the market track changes in foreign companies' investment, operations, and employment activity in the U.S.